Hello, I am Heather Pierce Campbell, the legal website warrior. I'm an attorney and legal coach based here in Seattle, Washington. Welcome to another episode of Guts, Grit, and Great Business. I am so excited about our guest today. I just can't wait to see what Linda Clemons has to share with us. But Linda and I met, handful of months ago now. And I just loved her from the first minute, and she is persistent like nobody else I've seen, and I have witnessed firsthand how much she cares about the work that she does, about the people that she serves. So I'm really excited to bring Linda to you today. Linda Clemons is an entrepreneur. She is CEO of Sisterpreneur Inc. and a global speaker. Through her international business, she empowers women entrepreneurs. She's worked with the White House, FBI, Southwest Airlines, Nestle, and more. She has also received the highest civilian honor in the state of Indiana. I can't wait to hear about that one, Linda. She's a sales and body language expert, and she is also a playwright and an author. Linda, you know already that I love you, and I'm so excited that we get to connect again today. Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you, my sister. I'm so excited to do this for you. This is what we do. We support each other, and I love it. And what a great time for everyone in the nation, everyone in the country, and around the world to be able to come out of this situation, if you will, because we're all in it together. But we're going to come out better rather than bitter. And we do it through programs like this. So thank you so much for
Oh my
allowing me to
gosh.
do this.
Oh, I'm so excited you're here. I agree. Part of the reason that I launched Gut Grits and let me say that correctly. Guts, Grit, and Great Business is because a lot of the message that I want people, and specifically the entrepreneurs that I serve right now, to hear and to remember is that business, entrepreneurship, I mean, really anything worth going after in life is a marathon, not a sprint, right? And this is one more season, and it's tougher on a lot of people than some other seasons that we've been through. But, I really care that my listeners hear from people who have been through tough seasons before, have had experiences that have shaped them, that have forced them to make really hard decisions, but that they've come out the other side shining. And, one of the premises of this podcast is that it's actually in moments of compression that we get to make some of our best decisions that actually create the success that we are trying to create. And that without that compression, without that pressure, that we may not get there.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know what's so interesting for me in this particular time? I remember during 9/11, I was in an industry, and I still teach in that industry, in the resort industry. So when 9/11 hit, it impacted everyone, specifically in the travel industry. I have friends that were still working in other industries, but those that were in the travel industry, specifically for me, resort timeshare I'm deemed as one of the top sales trainers in the world in my industry. But what had happened was there were individuals losing their homes, losing their cars, because at that particular time, losing their life savings because people were not traveling. They were glued to the television set, just watching everything. So it had a great impact on that industry and the ripple effect, okay? Ripple effect. You're looking at right now, look at Hertz. Because of this is happening with the pandemic. Now Hertz Rent-A-Car, Hertz number one in rentals. They filed bankruptcy. So can you imagine, sometimes it takes one little thing. Now, what did I learn from 9/11? It was during that time, Heather, that I said, never again. And a never again is that you look at things that are going on in your life, you take inventory, be it of your relationships, of your finances, and you'll say never again. Now, what does that mean? Being in an industry where you were commission sales, I said to myself, never ever again will I be in a position where I am not financially comfortable to make sure that I have a roof over my head, this and that, so on, this is taken care of. So my goal, once we got through that, I says, I'm gonna work hard. I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to do what the Japanese do quite often in their education, their learning, delay gratification, where so many times Americans, we got to have it now, the best car, the best this, you got to have it now. And I said, I'm going to work hard, put money away, save, 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 so that I can live in a rent-free environment. And so my goal at that particular time, I said I'm going to work hard to make sure that I had no mortgage or debt on my home. Now that was important to me, specifically for those of you that are out there who are entrepreneurs, your business, you are living, if you will, almost in a commission type thing. If you don't work, you don't generate, you don't produce, nothing comes in. So that was one of my never ever agains, so that I would have that, if you will, that peace of mind. Now a lot of people are in a situation here with this pandemic. What do I do? Now is the time to think, maybe I should really start taking care of my health. Maybe I should really start exercising more. Maybe I should, this is a good time perhaps maybe to go back to school, even if it's online. Heck, I've got plenty of time. So you have to begin to think, what can you do to make yourself greater? Because the greater may come later. The greater may come later, and you've got to do the work now. You and I can't, unless it's a cheetah. What is it? That cheetah pet where you pour the water on and it grows the plants. How often does any farmer go out and plant seeds and then expect a crop the next day? You got to get out there and plant the seeds now. So what are the areas that you need to work on? So let's take inventory. Is it my relationship building? If you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, if you are simply a professional, your network can impact your net worth.
Absolutely.
Network can impact your network. So one of the things you want to do is start building that up. You know, I do welfare checks. Welfare checks, people think welfare checks like getting the checks in the mail. No, welfare checks where I'm calling my clients, calling my friends such as you, checking on them to see how they're doing. How are your families doing? How's your business doing? What can I do to add value to your business or to your life at this particular time? So now's the time, wow, to plant the seeds. Now is the time to grow in the areas that perhaps we've had weaknesses or challenges in. Now is the time to do this. So I get excited about this.
I love it. I can tell. And it's a super important area, because I think sometimes it takes a catastrophe like what we're experiencing right now for people to pay attention to things that we've all let slip, right? Or we've let different areas slip, right? So like you said, taking inventory, I think a lot of us have the opportunity right now to reevaluate what's working. What have I been leaving out? What have I not been paying attention to? I mean, unfortunately, I think a lot of businesses were caught off guard by COVID. And I was talking with a friend the other day who said, you know, I went along not hearing from them forever, and suddenly COVID hits and they're like, oh, hey, remember me? Not a good look. Not a good look to not have been relationship building. And then only, I mean, yes, we should be making efforts, but it's such a reminder that we should be consistently making efforts regardless of the playing field, regardless of the circumstances.
Absolutely. For those that are listening, of course, and I know you are increasing your intellectual capital. So you're constantly learning. The more you learn, the more you earn. So here is a book by one of my favorites, Harvey Mackay. And he wrote the book, How to Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. But another favorite book is Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty. Dig your well before you're thirsty. And that is that power of networking. So what that simply means, wow, this is the time to plant the seeds, because we don't know how long we're going to be in this. Mm-mm. And if your business is the type of business where you've got to be around people, you better develop high touch. I know this technology put a man on the moon, was doing all kinds of things. We've got Facebook, you've got Zoom. Technology is great, but high tech will never, ever replace high touch.
That's right. That's right. And the thing that we have right now is the power of technology doesn't have to replace that touch. It can enhance it, right? I can get on and send a video message to 10 of my, warmest leads or my recent contacts. And even just taking a minute and popping into somebody's life and saying, hey, how are you? Just checking in, just touching base. I mean, it absolutely is one of the most powerful things that we can do for our businesses, even and not even, but especially during a downtime, checking in on people. So, Linda, let's backtrack. Talk to me a little bit about how you got started on your own entrepreneurial path. I really like to hear stories of how people choose entrepreneurship.
Well, my company, Sisterpreneur, has been incorporated for well over 22 years now. And for a small business to be around that long, when it's the first 5 to 7 years that are critical. But I knew that I was always an entrepreneur, the little entrepreneur in my spirit, because growing up early, it was interesting. We had a neighbor down the street and had a pear tree. And I would ask the neighbor, could I help clean up the yard? And if I did, if I can keep the good pears that would fall to the ground. And she said, of course. I would take those pears and take a little butter knife back then, and I would peel the pears, roll them in cinnamon sugar, and sell them for 75 cents to the kids in the neighborhood. Oh, I knew that I was destined to be an entrepreneur, that when all the lessons that I would learn in school, I would come home and those individuals, the little ones, the neighbors down the street that allowed me to babysit. So I had a babysitting job. I sold candy. I did creative things, and I charged 50 cents. I would tell my neighbors that when I babysit their kids, an additional 50 to 75 cents, that I can teach them their ABCs and their numbers. So I knew there was an entrepreneur in me. But what really told me this, and the validation, is that being in sales all my life, being in commission sales all my life, I was the number one candy, I'm proud about this, number one candy seller in my school. So I was on a mission. And of course, and later on, doing telemarketing sales, selling timeshare. So I knew that I had the gift of gab. I knew that I had the gift of persuasion. And I knew that there was something in me to be a producer rather than a consumer. Quite often Americans, the reason why we are high in credit card debt, we're high in because we're more consumers than we are producers. And when you are the producer, you could begin to multiply your resources, your assets, because you're able to make a difference in your community, the nation, and the world, because you're producing. If I'm the one that's running a company, I can employ several people and feed their families and grow a company. That's how Ray Kroc started off with a little hamburger stand, right? It grew into something big. So every large company started with a dream. Mm-hmm. It started with a dream. So I knew from a younger age that I wanted to be my own boss. And I knew that when I did work in corporate America, still in sales, that I knew that I could do this. I could do this, because when you are in commission sales, you are paid for what you produce. Well, I'm thinking if I can produce it on my own, I'll get more of the pay. Love it. But it's not, but you and I both know it's not for everyone.
No.
It's not for everyone. I think it was Robert Kiyosaki who wrote the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He said, in order for the entrepreneur to emerge, the employee must die.
It's true. It's a different.
Yeah. Because you can't serve both. You can't give both 100%. Mm-mm. So for those that are listening, that are entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, solopreneurs, and I say intrapreneurs, that you're still working that job, but you got your foot in your dream on the side. Yeah. There's gonna come a time that one of them you must serve 100% to give it your all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and anybody that has dedicated themselves to the path of entrepreneurship knows that even with your 100% there's challenges. It's hard enough even when you're fully there. So even if you're half in, half out, it's going to be way harder.
And it's not easy, and it is not an 8 to 5. It may be, a 6 a.m. to 12 midnight. It may be a 24/7, because you eat, drink, and think. It's like a baby. You are birthing that baby. You are birthing that dream, and you've got to nurture it. You've got to take care of it, and you've got to work on yourself. You've got to work on yourself. It is critical. I heard a saying years ago, when you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you rot. Stay green. Keep growing. Keep learning. Keep developing. Stay on the cutting edge. And begin to brand yourself as the go-to person in your industry. That's critical.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think for any of us who've been in the entrepreneurial world for a while, I mean, you recognize the difference. You recognize people that have the hunger and the thirst and the continual willingness to learn and do what it takes to keep moving, right?
Absolutely.
Suddenly, if you stop or you're no longer interested in growing to the next level, I mean, there's no such thing as really remaining stagnant. You're either going, with the flow of the river or against it, but there's no really staying in one spot. Um, so talk to me about the point of transition between your sales career and going out on your own, like when you made that choice.
Well, I made the choice because when I was working in corporate America, I was still in sales in the
Mhm.
resort industry well over 35 years. And so, to those that are listening, I started when I was a baby, so that you'll
That's
know how.
right. That's right. You were too. I know.
2 years old, okay? Well over 35 years. And if anyone listening has ever been to a timeshare presentation, you know that is not an easy sell because most people are going into the presentation specifically for one thing, what we did in marketing, to get the free gift. So they go to get the gift. So you learn how to deal with different personalities. So for me to go into business for myself, it was easy to sell my dream and my passion, my training sessions and my workshops and my seminars. I do a lot of keynote presentations. So it was easy to make that transition. The reason why, because I know my product. Here's the easiest lesson in the world: know your product and know everything else, everything you possibly can about your customer. And I knew that. So if you only have two things in your pocket to go on being in business or being a professional, you want to know this. You want to be the go-to in your area. You want to be known. As we know, you say a soft drink. I'll ask you to name a soft drink. I ask you to name a burger. I'll ask you whatever. You'll know whatever that brand that dominates. You want to know everything about your industry. So that means you got to constantly be learning and stand up, but you also want to know everything about your customer. So I knew everything about my customer. Now, I had an edge that most people probably don't have, or they may have it and not even know it. Being in sales all my life as a sales expert now, and also a nonverbal communications expert, a body language expert. So I was able to hear, it's my little tagline here, hear the inaudible, pretty much what they weren't saying, even though they were talking, and see the invisible, even though they're moving, see what they're saying. So what does that mean? If you were to ask me as we opened up your show, and you were to ask me, say, Linda, how are you doing? And I responded to you like this: Heather, I'm just doing fine. You know me now. You
Mhm.
know my energy level. You know my baseline. So you're going to say to me, Linda, are you sure? See,
Mhm.
many times we miss those cues. Those are the tonality. And the tonality is 38% of our communication. So if I say to my client or my customer, so do you like plan A? You like plan B? Or would C work for you? And then if they say, and if they were excited before, I missed something along the way. I didn't build the value. But what I see so many sales professionals, so many business owners, Heather, they're so intent of presenting their product or service. They've got that down pat and they're missing the nonverbal cues, whereas the client was leaning in
That's
and
right.
they were into it.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden they were taken aback and their body language moves back. They're missing those cues because they're so busy broadcasting instead of tuning in. So by putting those two together, it allowed me great success in being the record-setting producer at every company that I worked for. And so I'm coming out there with that level of confidence. Oh, I could do this. And creating my own sales programs and being able to customize that come into your company or any company, because once you know the psychology of the sales process, and more importantly, the psychology of the consumer buying process, if you master those two, oh, you're ahead of your competition.
I love it. Did you, now in getting to know the body language piece of it, when you were in sales, was it all in person? Were you over the phone? Was it combination?
I've
Did
done
you
it
just,
all.
you did it all?
Oh, friend, listen, I've done it all. From starting as a kid selling candy door to door
Mm.
to going on the road where my mom had to sign a release because I was underage, because you had to be 21. I was like 17 at that time. And so I was going all over the country selling the books, the magazines, the encyclopedias, from doing that, from being number one in the company for doing telemarketing. to then selling timeshare face to face, did it all. And so through those years of experience, of course, and trained in analytical interviewing and nonverbal communication, being trained in that, being able to sit back and watch a person. You as a mom, you know good and well if something's wrong with your husband, if something's wrong with your child. Even if they say, Mom, I'm okay, you know. If your husband, you ask, how was his day? And he does something that's out of his routine, you know. And these were the cues that as I begin to get to know a customer or get to know a client, begin to know them and get their baseline. When I use the term baseline, that's who they are under normal circumstance. That's their norm, their baseline. When they're without stress. So that if you're out of your baseline, you're saying, Sandra, what's going on with you? You're acting funny. What's up? Nothing. You know, you could be held hostage or something else is going on and you're trying to give me the signal. We miss those things because we're so busy trying to sell our products and services. And so I master that. I would go, and now my master students do that. I would go, I'll sit in courtrooms. I watch jury trials. I watch it all. And then have my students ask, can you tell who's guilty? If they're telling the truth. And just listen to the words 7%. Listen to the tonality. Did you hear the tone change? Watch the body language. Oh my gosh, you can't see half the language because they're sitting in the stand. The witness is sitting in the stand. Half the language has gone below the waist. Oh my gosh, deception decreases as you go below, the farther apart from the body, from the brain. That's where your truth detector is. Oh my gosh. So beginning to watch that, then they learn how to ask the right questions. And then watch for the moves.
Well, I don't envy you sitting in courthouses, but it would be good experience.
Airports, you know, when days were good in the shopping mall, people watching.
Yes, totally. I get it. And you already mentioned, I think anybody who's been in a conversation where the other person is really not listening. They're so intent on what they have to say that they're really not responding to your feedback or what you are saying. To me, that's the equivalent of a sales conversation going wrong, right? The salesperson is just not listening, not receptive. They're so tuned into their own message. What else gets in the way? Is there anything else, or is that the primary stumbling block for people?
Well, let me add that. Let me add to that. I'm gonna do the Disney method. I'm gonna plus that. Okay. What's really critical about the listening piece? I want everyone that's listening right now, for your goal, I want you to put on your list to be a radical listener. I mean, a radical listener that you are listening so well if you're in the presence of another person or you're doing Zoom interviews, by the way. If you're doing Zoom interviews, I want you to listen so well that the person is almost taken aback because day to day, be it their parents, be it their kids, be it their spouse, no one's listening to them. For someone to give them that much undivided attention and then watch how their body just releases the tension. Because when you are 100% present in another person's presence, that is powerful. That is affirmation. The other thing is the biases that we have, which are very critical. So I want to talk about, there's about 9 or 12, maybe 9 or 12 biases. I want to talk about a couple things that could be hindering you in the sales process or the negotiation process or simply communicating. And by the way, for the women that are out there listening, and maybe one day when we're doing a live presentation where they can see me and I can see them, just in case, if you're single ladies and fellows, this is for you too, that there are 21 nonverbal moves that you could do to have the person of your desire totally into you. Okay, so let's get back to the biases, all right?
People are going to be like, no, tell me that, right?
So let's talk about confirmation bias. So when you have confirmation bias, what happens is, let's say you're you're doing a presentation, maybe 3 or 4 people in the room, stakeholders are in the room. Confirmation bias is this: you are in alignment or have a bias towards the person that agrees with your train of thought. So if someone gives you an objection, well, you know, we've tried this before, it didn't work, you're not listening to them. And that person may be valid. That person may be the influencer, but your confirmation bias will be with those people who agree with the way you think. That's dangerous because you're not open to opportunities. The other bias is the halo effect bias. So in other words, if I say, I just love Heather, I love the way she does this, and she always wears my favorite color, green, it looks good on her, or she wears blue, whatever, and she's just so good the way she helps entrepreneurs. Well, I put a halo on you, and we want our consumers to do that. You want them to put a halo on your company. You want them to put a halo on you, but when you put a halo over a person, it's like grandma. It's like grandma saying that little grandchild could be a devil on wheels. It could tear up the entire neighborhood. But Granny doesn't see anything else. She doesn't see the little devil in that little child. She sees her little angel because she's got the halo effect. And what that will do, you will pick up characteristics that you admire, and you'll put a halo on that person. Psychopaths are really good at doing it because look at your eyes. I wish your audience could see, because they come off charming. Con artists, they come off charming. And the other one is negative bias. Negative bias, you may have it, or your clients may have it. Negative bias is this, is that, do you know someone that no matter whatever meeting or whatever you're talking about, they go into the meeting with a negative attitude? It's not going to work. I know they're going to come up with something new. It's not going to work. We're always having these meetings, always negative. So even if you are someone out there listening and you've been in a rut, and someone says to you, you were listening to Heather's show here, and someone says, maybe we should try this new strategy. You are the one that may be thinking, oh, it's not going to work. Everybody's always got some kind of strategy or tactic to do. Negative bias. You go into it negative, every single thing, and being able to recognize those biases. So those are three that I really want you to start thinking about. And we also know about culture bias, ethnic bias. We already know about that, or we've heard about it, but there's some other hidden ones that can be having a great impact on your success, or it can hinder it.
So important. How do people become aware of those? Like the person who's maybe stuck in the negative bias, how do they become aware that that's actually their framing point, their reference point, and not a problem of the other person, right?
So let's say the negative bias. So let's say you have a partner, a business partner, or people that you're working around, and you'll say to them, every time I'm on the meeting, every time I'm on Zoom or for the meeting in person, if an idea is presented and I'm the one that has to play devil's advocate, can someone stop me, or could someone bring it to my attention? So that's one area. The other area is that you could just do the opposite. Instead of being negative, is saying for the next 21 days or the next 30 days, I'm going to have a positive bias. I'm just going to see the positivity in everything. I'm going to find the miracle in the mess. I'm going to do that, because the reason why you want to do it from 30 days to around 41 days, because now the brain is thinking, okay, I think she's serious. We're about to do a new habit here. They normally say 21 days, but it's actually longer. And so once you do that, then you're going to love it, because guess what's going to happen? Your outlook is going to be great. Your health is going to be great. You're going to find that you're even more happier. And you're going to find people want to be around you more, because when you're constantly in that negative bias, who wants to be around someone like that all the time? It brings you down. So what you make a commitment to yourself and challenge yourself. For some of you who are negative bias, it may be hard to do it for a month. So we're going to start you off for a week, okay? Because you're out there thinking, I can't do that for a month. You're negative already. See, so you failed already, right? So if you can challenge yourself to do it for a week, they're trying to find the positive, trying to find the good. And what's going to happen? You're going to tap into that right brain, left brain, and find all the great ideas are going to be manifested in you, because you're open for possibilities. Dr. Wayne Dyer, in his book, the late Wayne Dyer, in his book, The Power of Intent, he says, be open to everything, but attached to nothing. So to get out of that negative bias, I want you to start practicing finding the possibilities. So if the weatherman says it's going to rain today, and you're in Seattle, it rains a lot, but if the weatherman says it's going to rain today, you're going to say, you know what? I'm grateful for 2 hours of sunshine.
That's right. And
just practice that. So that way you're now practicing when your clients start offering those objections, you won't react in that negative way. You're going to react in a positive way. Therefore, you're more calmer.
No, I love that. And I think adopting self-awareness and really monitoring how we're reacting to something, but also having curiosity around it, right? I think people shut down curiosity, and if they're feeling like they're getting some amount of negativity back in a sales conversation, or like you say, they're relating to somebody who is similar, who reinforces them, or, the halo bias, right? They attach to something that feels positive or relatable, and the true decision maker might be the other person in the room.
Absolutely.
Right? So important to maintain that self-awareness and that curiosity. So one of the things that my mind keeps going back to that I just have to ask you about, talk to us a little bit about your experience with the White House and the FBI. I'm so curious to know what you did there.
So what I did there, I was actually a speaker at a conference for the White House with President Obama, and the same thing for the FBI and U.S. Customs, Department of Defense. I was a keynote speaker at a particular program at a separate area. So the White House was a diversity program, which was wonderful. And it was exciting, met a lot of people, and got quite a few clients from that. And when I speak for U.S. Customs and the FBI, many of them are in my workshops because they're trying to learn nonverbal communications. See, they do it differently with the FBI and the CIA. The way I do it, most people are able to read when they're moving. I can do a still read, and a still read is the person doesn't have to be giving me nonverbal language, meaning moving the hands, looking at the eyes. I can ask one question, and simply by the tone and the way they answer, we've got 43 facial muscles. We use at least 37 of them, 36 to 37, to make at least 26 different impressions. And what happens just by asking a specific question, I can get a lot of information. Now, Paul Ekman talks about all of that, but it's a different, my friend of mine said, she says, Linda, I believe you can read the dead. I said, yes, if the face is not distorted, I probably can. So I do it in a way by simply asking certain questions and watching for those subtle nonverbal cues. And there's a series of questions. You know that when people are getting close to your heart, close to something that's important to you, and or you have that little space that you don't want anyone to go to, and someone asks you, bring something up, you'll react. So again, when I was speaking at the White House, it was a great experience. It was a great diversity conference. Had a chance at that time, of course, to meet Hillary, President Obama, and it was a great opportunity for me. And since then, it just opened up doors to do other things.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Well, I would be fascinated to attend because I saw a blip when we first met and you sent me to your website. The funny thing is I went and you were doing an analysis of somebody's body language, or maybe a series of people on stage. And one of them was Tracy, my friend here from Seattle, who was at your event, right? So small world. But you were spot on.
She nailed me. Oh my gosh. And so then people will say, no, that's more. And I've had people come up to me and say, no, you're not doing body language. And they'll come up to me and says, no, you're not even doing NLP. They said it's something even more spooky. It's deep. And they'll ask me, are you like a psychic? Are you a seer? And people will come up to me, can you tell me if I'm going to get married? Am I going to get a divorce? Am I going to have a baby? I get this all the time. I get this all the time. Now, what I do for young adults, I mentor a lot of college kids. And what I do for young adults, I have them send me their video to do a role play for their interviews, because we're in a tech generation right now, to the point people are even getting iPhone, but because of back problems and with their thumbs and everything, with this generation. So therefore, they're communicating on Twitter in how many characters now? Was 144? How many characters is Twitter allowing? So they're communicating that way. Now, when it's time to go for a job interview, they're not ready. They're not ready. And so a lot of the students that I mentor, they send me we do a mock interview so I can say to them, you don't believe it, the way you're sitting, the way you're leaning, the way you're doing, what you did with your hand. You did a shoulder shrug. You're not really in it. You're not sure what you want to do. Are you sure you want this job or not? Do you think you're going to be dedicated? And they're like, oh my gosh, could you tell all that? And they don't realize, because here's the thing I want your listeners to understand. How can you see the picture if you're in the frame?
Yeah, that's right.
See, so you've got to be aware of what you're doing, and whatever you think about, whatever's on your mind comes out in the matter. So it's fun. And the way I deliver it, like you saw, it was ironic that your friend Tracy would be in there, right? But what you saw is edutainment, is the education part. They're learning, like, wow, I didn't know this. And the entertainment part that allows the information to stick.
Yes. Well, it's really valuable though, and I think people generally don't pay enough attention to understanding that part of the conversation. My sister, who you met at the event where you and I met, is also in sales. She's a salesperson, and I was telling this story on her the other day. I love her skills. She is just one awesome woman, but she got sent into a group of people in her work. It was a group of hospital techs who were attached to, the competitor's equipment, and she's obviously being sent in to teach them about, their equipment. And she met a whole room of
Folded arms.
techs with folded arms, closed off body language, closed faces, but they had submitted ahead of time. She didn't get the questions until she went to the room, but somebody had written down like all of the questions and the comments and stuff, their concerns on this piece of paper. And, she looked at them all and she just said, like she looked at the paper that had all these questions and she's looking at this room of people that are entirely closed off to her. And she just said, "You guys, this is amazing. Look at all the work you have put in. Like I can just tell by looking at this sheet of paper how much you care about your patients. We are on the same team." And she just said, "I don't care what equipment you end up going with. I'm really happy to be here answering questions, but I can just tell how much you care based on the fact that you did this work in advance before I even got here." Immediately, body language is changing. They realize that they're not being sold. She's just going to answer questions, provide information. One of her superiors who was really concerned about this situation was there on site with her when she did this. And they sent an email around the whole company afterwards about like, you should have seen Ashley work. You should have seen her address this room. I wish that everybody had been there for the training opportunity.
Wow.
But people who are paying attention and who understand other people, have taken the time to understand how to relate, how to put people at ease. I mean, it is the difference between a paycheck or not having a paycheck.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what you do is phenomenal.
She has a great presence as well.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a rock star.
My amen corner.
I know. I love her. We had a lot of fun at that event where we met you. So talk to us about how you work with your clients. Who do you serve? How do you support them? Talk to us a little bit about the work that you're doing right now.
So a lot of the majority of my clients right now are corporate clients. Got a lot of great corporate clients, and it's been fun. So they'll bring me into the company and I'll do a training, be it sales training or the silent language of leaders and or individual executive coaching for their C-suite level. So where I'm spending anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes of laser coaching and career pathing, which is really, really great because I love being able to help people get on their path of purpose, if you will. So I love that. Then I do retreats. I do women's conferences. My company is Sisterpreneur, and we do quarterly conferences. We have one in March. Normally one would be in June, the other September, November. So our next one, because of COVID-19, our next one will be in November. But it's so exciting because women entrepreneurs coming from all over the country, sharing their ideas, their best practices, their success stories, their challenges, and we're growing together. We always have surprise guests, and we're trying to get you to Indianapolis to come to this, but it is wonderful. And I love doing that. And every now and then I open up some room to do individual coaching. My capacity has been challenging with that because because of my schedule, but I'll do group coaching on a particular subject. So let's say we're talking about the power of persuasion. So I'll do a group subject like that, and then maybe nonverbal communication, we'll do a Zoom. So, and just a fun group so everybody can pitch in and learn and we can demonstrate. But it's been great. As a matter of fact, it's been busy for me. I'm thinking, okay, because I'm normally traveling 15 to 20 days a month. I think, well, I get to chill a little bit. No, it's been a lot of work. It's good. It's good that my clients are keeping me engaged. So I'm excited about it. And then to take out the time to be able to do wonderful interviews like this for your listening audience, I think it's great. I did radio for about 15 years. So
so this feels probably old hat to you, right? That's super fun. So, what do you want entrepreneurs to know? Like, what do you think is one of the biggest takeaways for people that are building their own businesses that are, and generally the folks that I work with, right? I call them mission driven, heart centered entrepreneurs, right? they're really serving people from a place of heart, from a place of wanting to transform lives. What do you think is one of the biggest takeaways that they should be thinking about and doing differently following this conversation?
In growing your business, and if you've got employees, one of the things you want to remember, and just look at the order, you want to put people first. That means your clients, your customers, your
Mm.
employees. When you put people first, then you'll prosper and you'll see it in your bottom line. When it's all about the dollar first, something will suffer. So when you take care of people, your employees will take care of the people, the customers. That's always critical. Always critical. And always remember that your first customer are your employees. That's your first customer. And that's for those of you who are looking to scale and grow your business where you have employees. The other thing that you want to remember, that when you grow, give back. Give back from where you got your power, your source. Give back. Choose something in your community to give back. Choose someone to mentor, give back. Choose someone in your company to either help grow with their college education. Constantly give back because, based on my faith and my belief, you can't beat the giver giving. And when you give, the law of the universe, it comes back to you. And constantly keep growing yourself. Stay above, stay ahead, know everything about your business. I'm gonna say that again. Everything you can about your business so that you become the go-to expert. And you're building a business where your clients are referring others to you. Can you imagine building a business that you don't have to advertise? You don't have to buy an ad, a Facebook ad, or you don't have to do anything that you do. And I think Walt Disney just said, do what you do so well that others will go out and tell other people and pay you and pay to see you do it so well. And the last thing I want to say, Heather, is like when I work with entrepreneurs and they come and speak and they do things for me, there's three things that I require. Number one is for them to have the customer service that Nordstrom is jealous. Okay. Have your customer service so supreme that Nordstrom has got the word that you have the best customer service. Have a system so tight like McDonald's. Think about it. No matter where you go, anywhere around the world, no matter where you go, McDonald's has a system. They have a system. There's a way to make the Big Mac, and I'm dating myself. I'm aging myself. There used to be a jingle back out in the day that even taught you how to make a Big Mac. You may be too young to remember, Heather, but that jingle was to all beef, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. People were walking around singing the jingle, but it taught you how to make the Big Mac. There's a system. Okay, so number one, be the Nordstroms of customer service in your business. Give that. Have a system as tight as McDonald's so that if anything breaks down, you know how to fix it. And last but not least, give the experience of Disney so that when your customers are in your presence, they go like, whoa, that was an experience. And people hold on to their experiences. You can ask grown adults their best experience as a child and watch their face light up. So those are my three things, and I'm sticking to it.
I love those. I mean, we should all be striving for all of those things. And I think really the underlying principle across all of those, and you said it, is people first, right? It's what we should have been doing all along. It's what we should be doing right now in COVID. It's what we should be continuing to do. So I think that's a great place to wrap up. Well, Linda, I'm going to be sharing your contact information. I will share your website link. So for people listening, make sure that you check out the show notes. Go to legalwebsitewarrior.com/podcast. Linda, let me ask you though, where do you like to connect with people online? If there's a listener who wants to reach out or somebody who's leading a business and they want to connect with you, what's your favorite way to connect?
They can do it through LinkedIn or they can do it actually through my website. And I'm
Okay.
good at responding. And by the way, speaking of that, your fortune is in your follow-up and your follow-through. That's critical.
So
So
true.
you respond, and you'll send me something and I'll respond to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here and
I love
talking to
you,
us.
Heather.
Oh my gosh, I love you. I'm so glad we got to see you today. I will reach out again soon. But thank you, listeners, for being with us today. Check out Linda's work, and we will talk soon.
Thank you.
Let's see. I'm just trying to. I've got an editor who edits these. There we go.